So in my previous video I was talking about how I wasn't reading that much lately. I don't like not reading much because I always feel like a part of me is missing when I'm not really reading. It's my favorite hobby, my true passion, and I really feel like I'm not complete if I'm not regularly reading. But on the other hand, I also don't want to force myself too much, and I don't want to kind of force myself out of this reading slump. I also don't want to completely call it a reading slump because I have been reading, just not as quickly and as much as I used to. So I kind of want to rebuild my relationship with reading and get back into the books and into the stories that I know make me so happy. And I thought the best way to do it is to start by just making a TBR. So we're going to do an old-fashioned TBR, back to the basics. I thought it would be like a good comeback video, or at least a comeback video where there's actually books involved. I guess you can call this a TBR to get me out of my reading slump, or maybe even a spring TBR because that's already where we're at in the year. It is spring, so I guess this is just a not that strict but kind of to make me read more, kind of inspiring weird spring TBR. I don't know where that sentence was going. I'm not sure if it's complete, but I don't feel like trying to repeat it, so that's where we're at. So yeah, I guess it's time to talk about some books that I really want to read. Maybe not soon, but somewhere in the distant future, and that hopefully will get me back into my reading mood. The first book on this list is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and this is actually a book that I have been reading for the past 3 weeks or so. So not as much a TBR book as a currently reading book, but as I do want to finish it, I thought it still deserved its place in this video. King of Scars is a duology in the Grisha-verse universe, which is a very well-beloved fictional world created by Leigh Bardugo. We have the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology, and especially the Six of Crows duology is massively popular. The King of Scars duology takes place after both of those series, and it follows 3 characters from both the Shadow and Bone series and the Six of Crows series. I don't want to say anything else apart from that. I don't want to tell you who the characters are because that itself I think is already quite a bit of a spoiler for the previous series. But needless to say, I am a big fan of Leigh Bardugo. I really enjoyed both the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. I have reread them last year. I really enjoyed my reread. I love this world. I love these characters. And that is why I finally picked up King of Scars, basically as a first step to get me out of my reading slump. I have been reading this, I have been enjoying this. It's really nice to be back into the world, but I'm not going to give a full review yet because 1, this is not a wrap up, and 2, I have not finished it yet. But all I can say for now is that I thought it was a good move of mine, for me personally, to pick up a book that is something that I already know, that is familiar, but it's also a new story. And yeah, I'm just slowly taking my time with it. I am enjoying it, even though it is a bit slow, but it is on my TBR to finish. Hopefully soon. I mean, I know it will be soon because I will not stop reading it until I finished it. So we're going to make this work. And a natural progression of my TBR is that I also want to read Rule of Wolves, which is the second book in the King of Scars duology. Same story. I just really want to finish this duology mostly back to back because I do have a habit of starting book series and then not finishing them. And now I have so many book series that I'm not really sure where to continue and which series I should pick up first to actually finish. So let's just make it simple for myself and continue with this duology just straight on. So this is on my TBR as well. And then the story will be finished. That's the nice thing of a duology. Cannot wait to see how this entire story is going to finish and what is going to happen to these characters that I love and hold dear to myself so much. A TBR of mine obviously would not be complete without at least one historical fiction book in it because it is my favorite genre. I cannot get enough of it, ever. And the historical fiction book that I have chosen for this TBR is Beneath a Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. It is a book that takes place during World War II, and it's about an Italian teenage boy who during the war becomes part of the resistance, but then his parents force him to enlist in the German army to protect him, which eventually leads up to him being in a very close position to Hitler himself. Apparently this book is based on a real life person, so I'm very curious to see how that is going to work out and what actually happened in this piece of history. But with a premise like that, I just know it's probably one of those books that I will love very, very much, because historical fiction and World War II historical fiction in particular are just really something that I enjoy to read about. It's also a book that has been on my TBR for a while, or at least on my shelves for a while. I think it has been featured in previous TBR videos, but for now it felt like it was the right choice, or it will be the right choice, to get me out of my sort of reading slump again. It sounds like a good historical fiction, so I really hope I will pick it up somewhere soon. Next up, I have Pandora's Jar: Women in the Greek Myths by Natalie Haynes. Natalie Haynes is an author who is very well known for her writings about Greek myths. I do own 2 copies by her, the other one, or 2 copies, 2 books by her, the other one being 1,000 Ships. And I've heard many good stories about her, but still I have not actually read anything by her. So I feel like that should probably change. I'm someone who likes to say that she loves Greek mythology very much. And I do. I was very much involved in Greek mythology and just mythology in general when I was in high school. But now that I come to think of it, I haven't actually read anything that is about mythology, and specifically Greek mythology, for a very long time. This book sounds absolutely perfect to change that cycle, because it is basically, it tells the story of Greek women, or the stories of Greek women. No, it tells the story of women in Greek mythologies. It's just like, from what I've gathered, it's chapter by chapter, just telling the stories of some of these well-known Greek mythological figures, and they're all women. That is what it comes down to. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely perfect for me. I love to delve into it a bit deeper. Some of these characters, or like these people, kind of depends on whether you believe whether they really existed. But yeah, I do know them, but I would love to know more about them. Talking about it already makes me quite excited, so that makes me think that it's a good choice to put this book on my TBR. So let's see what is going to happen with that. I feel like I have a really wide range in this TBR video, because the next book that I've chosen is actually a murder mystery, and it is the Relic by, oh my god, Preston and Child. What were their first names again? Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. Okay. This is, as I said, a murder mystery, and it's the first one in a series, I believe. A series that follows a certain detective, of whom I cannot find the name just yet. But it is about murders that are happening shortly before the opening of a massive exhibition at the popular New York Museum of Natural History. And the people that are being murdered, it looks like they are murdered by something that is not human. But from what I've gathered, this is kind of a murder mystery and not really a fantasy, so I don't think dinosaurs are really going to come to life. But what do I know? I have not read it yet and I don't know much about it, so maybe. I actually do hope it's going to be a bit more of a down-to-earth murder mystery, because that is exactly what I'm craving. And this one is especially nice because actually I don't have that many expectations from it. I just think it's going to be a nice murder mystery. I cannot wait to see how it's going to be solved. And then I also have some of the other books in this series on my shelves as well. So if I like this, maybe I will continue with them. But for now, I think something like this is probably a good way to get myself in the reading game. Just have something that is exciting and that I want to know the mystery of. So maybe I can trick my own brain into actually reading more if it's a murder mystery with lots of questions asked. The next book on my TBR is Inkheart by Cecilia Funk, which is a middle grade novel. Again, really wide range I've picked here. This is quite a famous one. It has been around for, I think, I'm not really sure, maybe I should check. It was originally published in 2003, so almost 20 years. It is an older middle grade one, and it is one that I've heard about throughout my life vaguely, but I've never actually read it. The premise is that it's about a young girl named Maggie and her father, who is named Mo, and they both have this mysterious power that when they read something, it actually comes to life in like real life. That is all that I know about it, but that is all that I need to know about it, because that sounds so fascinating and so exciting. I've talked about this book in a TBR video before, and then I got so many comments that were like, oh my god, Inkheart is amazing, it is my childhood, I loved it so much, which makes me really excited. I also know that this is the first book in a trilogy, or at least a series. I think it's 3 books, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. But it sounds like one of those perfect middle grade books that will just capture me and that I cannot wait to pick up. Like, I'm already sensing that making a TBR video was a really good choice because I'm getting more and more excited with each book that I'm talking about. And then the final book on my TBR that also completes my quest to have one book of each genre in this TBR. It is a high fantasy book and it's Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy. This trilogy follows a young boy named Fitz, who is the bastard son of a prince in this kingdom that is called the Six Duchies. Because he is a bastard son, he is in the interesting position of being somewhat part of the royal family, but not officially at the same time. And that means that he's being trained to become a royal assassin. This is the premise of the first book in the trilogy, which I read last year. I've also read the second book in this series, which I really adored. And this is the third and final book in the series. And yes, this is another one of my intentions to actually finish a book series for once, instead of just postponing it indefinitely. My previous experiences with Robin Hobb and this series are very positive. I love her writing, I love her characters so much, like it's insane and there's so much world building and I had a really good time reading those books. But on the other hand, they also took quite a long time to finish because it's high fantasy. The books are massive and that is also why I'm kind of scared to pick up the final book in the series, Assassin's Quest, because I know, especially in my current reading mood, it's going to be a difficult one to get through and it will take me a long time to read it. But I think I should just not be too scared of that and not force myself to read more quickly or have higher expectations of myself, because if it takes a little bit of time, then it's completely fine as well. So I guess a small resolution for myself is to actually pick it up, have a good time with it, no matter how long it takes. And then I can also finish this series, have some closure, know what is going to happen with these characters, because it sounds like there's going to be so much. And that is why it deserves a place on this TBR as well. Probably not the very next book I'm going to read, because it might be a bit too early in my reading recovery journey for that, but I do want to read it soon. And that was it, the first TBR I've done in about 4 months. It felt good, I had a good time, and as I said during the video, I think this was a very wise decision because it makes me very excited for all of these books. And let's just take it one step at a time. Nothing is set in stone, I can still change my mind if I feel so, but for now I feel like these are some good book choices and I do want to make some time to actually read them and be happy and have some reading in my life. But for now, this was it for this video. I do hope you liked it, that you enjoyed it. You can always subscribe, and if you want to see more videos, like you don't have to if you don't want to, but it is an option. You can also leave a comment, tell me about what you are planning to read. As always, I really love to interact and see your reading plans or your reading recommendations. Just please let me know, and hopefully I will see you again very soon in one of my next videos. And until then, bye!